Okay, hello, welcome to this video. We're finally going to talk about pedestrian maps. I've actually found access to some interesting data to share with you. As you know, Mineola, obviously, once the sun goes down, is pretty dead. You don't hardly see anyone walking around, whereas if you're on the South Shore, of course, there's plenty of people. So we're going to look at some of these pedestrian heat maps and kind of show you um, what goes on and what areas are. This kind of actually is a good way to kind of measure how unsafe an area is. Now you'll see that Mineola is sort of dark, but not terrible. We do have some streets here. This actually tells people what streets people walk down. What are the busiest streets? And you can see downtown is fairly dark. You don't see a whole lot of color here. This is Mineola Boulevard right here. The streets coming off Mineola Boulevard are pretty dark. All right. So that means there's not a whole lot of people walking around. As you go into Williston Park, you see that there's actually more pedestrian activity here. All right. So we're going to first start in my area. Going into Carr Place, you can also see there's actually more pedestrian activity there. But look what happens when you go into Westbury. Things get dark, and look at Newcastle. Hardly any pedestrian activity at all, because Newcastle is a very dangerous area and people don't want to walk around there. So this is a good measure to kind of tell people. And look around Roosevelt Field also, very dark. So again, you don't have a whole lot of people walking around here. Eisenhower Park, you see a lot of activity, especially around Mitchell Field and Nassau Community College. You start seeing a lot of people. And Garden City also, really bright colors here. Very bright around Garden City. You can see that. Same goes for New Hyde Park as well. All right. But then look what happens when we head south into Hempstead. Look at that. Look at how dark it is. So again, it's not a safe area. People don't want to walk around there. And you see that also affecting Uniondale as well. It improves as you get into East Meadow. And then making our way further south here, south in Hempstead, you can see what winds up happening as we head into Rockville Centre. Rockville Centre is lit up very brightly. You can see that Hempstead Lake State Park is lit up very brightly. Lakeview's kind of dark as well. But look at how bright Rockville Centre is lit up. So this is what I mean about the South Shore. Very bright here. A lot of bright colors here, which means you have a lot of people walking around and biking in this area. So you have a lot of pedestrian activities. Well, Rockville Centre, very, very busy. Same for Lynbrook as well. And Valley Stream isn't doing too badly either. You see a good decent amount of activity there as well. Going further south into Nassau County, you can see again, most of the South Shore is lit up pretty well. Right? Long Beach especially lit up very well. All right? So it kind of tells you what you need to know about what the areas people want to go. Now, as we headed along the South Shore, you notice, look what happens as we get into Baldwin. It starts getting darker again. And Freeport, look at how dark Freeport is. So again, not a whole lot of people want to walk around Freeport and Roosevelt. This is like the tale of two areas here. So you look at Hempstead, Uniondale. This kind of just shows you a whole big like triangle here of areas that are dark, where people don't want to walk because it's not safe, right? And then as you go into Merrick, look at this. Look at both sides of the parkway. And it's the tail. I feel it because many times I take the train from Merrick to Freeport. Merrick, you have a lot of people walking around. Freeport, it's dead. You just have creepy people walking around. So same kind of deal. Again, you have this all because of demographics. So again, Belmore also lit up pretty well. So all these towns have plenty of activity here. Massapequa. Notice, though, Amityville, again. Amityville is kind of dark. Same thing for North Lindenhurst. Look at this. Wyandanch, also very dark. This whole area. Farmingdale, too, by the way, is not that bright. You know, some activity, but it's not that bright, and especially as you go into East Farmingdale. It's kind of dark there. All right? And again, look at Lindenhurst and Babylon. Look at how lit up Babylon is. Again, the South Shore. This kind of shows you everything right here. Look at how the South Shore of Suffolk is just lit up here. But as you go north into the northern areas like Brentwood, Deer Park, Wyandanch, it's dark. People don't want to go there. People don't want to walk around because it's not safe. And this is what I mean. This kind of shows what's happening in Long Island. Where it's bright is civilization. Where it's dark is not civilization. And you can see a lot of areas have it a lot worse than Mineola, actually, when I wound up looking at this map. You can see here, look at how dark Deer Park is. Except for Edgewood Preserve. Edgewood Preserve has a lot of colors in it because a lot of people do walk around Edgewood Preserve. But other than that, Deer Park's kind of dark. And, yeah, not a whole lot of pedestrian activity here either. You can see. So let's go over to the North Shore now. The North Shore actually also has a decent amount of pedestrian activity as well. Places like Northport, Huntington, you have a decent amount of pedestrian activity there. Though, again, as we head south toward Hicksville, yeah, Hicksville's kind of dark. Here's Hicksville. Look at how dark Hicksville is. So, not a whole lot of pedestrian activity here. Jericho's a little bit brighter. Syosset, also kind of dark as well. That's the middle of the island. And also dark is Oyster Bay. There's not a whole lot of stuff here. It doesn't mean it's unsafe. It just means it's a sparsely populated area. Glen Cove, a little bit of brightness here. You can see Glen Cove and Seacliff. Heading into Roslyn, we got some brightness over here. Manhasset also, and Muncie Park. Port Washington also lit up pretty well as well. Great Neck also lit up pretty well. But again, as you go into, as we zoom out here, it kind of shows you the areas, these black holes that you see, that people don't want to go in. And that there's a big black hole in west central Suffolk that involves all those towns, like Deer Park, Wyandanch, Brentwood, CI, all that stuff. And look at the city, too, by the way. You'd think there would be a lot of pedestrian activity in these areas, but there's not a lot of... people might be walking, but it's not for exercise. So I think this tracks people who are walking for exercise. So look at how dark it is in Queens. Kind of tells you all you need to know about Queens. As you head closer to Manhattan, this is where you see the activity. Manhattan, Brooklyn, all the areas that are popular like Manhattan, Brooklyn, Park Slope, that area, Long Island City. That's where you see a lot of the activity. Once you get away from there, though, it's pretty dark. It's pretty dark. And so let's head further out east here. Even Ronkonkoma has some activity. Patchogue, of course, has plenty of activity. Well, it gets kind of dark as you head toward... Yeah, Ronkonkoma is not that bright. But you do have... And then you head north of there toward the lake. That's when you see a little more activity. Smithtown, you see activity. Lake Grove, Stony Brook area. So this kind of shows you that all these areas are fairly decent. Except for Port Jefferson Station, which again has some darkness to it. And then you get to the middle of Suffolk County here, and all these towns are fairly dark. Once you get past Center Reach, Selden, Coram, definitely not a whole lot going on in Coram. But you notice these areas where there is light, and that's because people do exercise in the preserve. There's a Overton Preserve. There's another preserve over here. But other than that, most of Coram is fairly dark. Same thing for Cathedral Pines. And, of course, the Pine Barrens also pretty dark. There's some light here. This is a good way of tracking where people hike, by the way. So this is Brookhaven State Park. Kind of shows you where the more popular trails are. This is how I got into this. And then you can see here, there's Shoreham. There's a preserve over there. But yeah, the Pine Barrens, by and large, are pretty dark. And you can see, again, most of the activity toward the South Shore. That's where most of the activity is. See that over here, too, as well. Same thing. Hamptons also has a lot of color. You have a lot of people walking around in Hamptons. No surprise there. North Fork, decently. But you can see, this kind of just shows you, especially in the western parts of the island, really where we have these really dark areas here. Like over here in, you can kind of see, and like I said, Mineola, yeah, it's not the brightest, but it's certainly not as dark as Newcastle or Hempstead is, you know. And don't even think about what I know some people are going to say, you know, it's a pun. No, it's just the way this works. Where the light is where the lighter it is, the brighter colors are where more people are walking and jogging and biking. And the darker areas are where there are less people walking, you know, and Westbury Westbury is not a safe area. There's gang activity there. And, one thing I'm grateful about Mineola, we haven't had any gang activity. So, we have our issues. Sure, it could be better, but it's certainly not as bad as a lot of other areas on Long Island when you look at this pedestrian activity map. But let's go past Long Island. Let's look at. Let's take this out and actually look at get a complete view of this here. So you can see this is Long Island, all right here, all right. You can see where the life is. Where it's light is where there's more light. The lighter it is, the more life there is. The darker it is, there isn't so much life. Let's look at Tom's River. This is Tom's River, and again, I guess it's on par with Mineola with the intensity of the colors, I guess. But the downtown area certainly seems to have more. Like if you look at North Main Street here, that's white. So they seem to have more activity there. And then this is Jake's Branch over here. You can see this again shows you where the activity is. Seaside, of course, a lot of people go there to walk around, especially in the summer. So it's sort of like what it looks like in Jersey. Of course, the Pine Barrens are dark. Well, that's not a surprise. Most people just don't walk there. It's kind of interesting to actually look and see. There are a lot of places I've walked that are just not on this map, which is kind of interesting. I've gone to some really unexplored areas, I guess, when I've gone to New Jersey. This kind of shows you, it's kind of interesting to take a look at this, though. But you see Jake's Branch here, but some of the other places I've gone to are not on, some of them are not on here. Like Double Trouble, for instance. All right, it shows the main trails of Double Trouble, but it doesn't show. There's a whole northern part of Double Trouble where it's dark, so not many people walk over there. I walk over there, so it's kind of interesting. I could get a phone. Like I said, this is an app, so I can actually. This is Strava, so you can put the link below. I'll give you the link below to these maps. You can sign up and, chart your walks and stuff, which I'd like to do. You can see here, and again, here's another black hole over here. This might be an area to stay out of. I don't know where that is there, but you can see where the black holes are. And same thing goes for New Jersey, too. Newark's not safe, so you see it's dark in a lot of these areas. East Orange. Again, not a safe area. People don't want to go there. They don't want to walk around. And so this can pretty much be shown pretty much anywhere, and it kind of shows you what we have here. But Mineola, like I said, for Mineola's Main Street, it's not. It actually is right over here. So I mean, it's not terrible. It's not terrible. Certainly, it's better than a lot of other areas on Long Island. Hempstead is look at this. I mean, look at how dark Hempstead is. This kind of shows you where the worst areas are on Long Island. It really does. In fact, let me just get my paint tool so I don't have this up yet. I gotta fix something for a moment. Or for some reason, I forgot that my Chrome, for whatever reason, I had an old extension and it kept saying it was a problem for my painting. So we'll have to just use this one instead. So I have a new one that we're using. So, and again, you can see the kind of, so this is Nassau County, and you can see the area. That's way too thin. Let's get rid of that. It needs to be a lot wider size. Right there. That's better. You can see here that this whole area right here, and this includes Roosevelt Field too, by the way. This whole area here is just a real dead zone, right? Hempstead, Roosevelt, Uniondale, Freeport. You can see that this whole area, this area, people don't want to go there. And then the same thing for a good part of Queens too. People don't want to go there. It's not safe. People don't want to go. But fortunately, we look at Mineola. It's not too bad, and we have some light here. I mean, it's not as bright as Garden City, but certainly. And then Westbury and Hicksville also very dark as well. So it kind of shows you the areas that people don't want to go to. All right. So Mineola hasn't gotten to that point yet, though I worry it will, but it hasn't gotten there yet. And so that's pretty much an overview of this. I urge you to visit the site. You can look at it. It's very interesting to see, and I kind of got to it because I was looking at it because of the trails, because for trail maps, it kind of shows you. Again, Bethpage here is very popular, so it kind of shows you the trails that people like to take in all the preserves. Here's Edgewood, by the way. All right, here's Edgewood, and yeah, that desert area right there. It doesn't seem like it gets that much activity. It seems like people go right by it, but they don't go actually into it. But it's very interesting, for a hiking perspective, but also from a safety perspective, which areas that people like to go to take to walk, you know. And again, this kind of shows you everything here. Again, we got the Amityville is dark as can be, and what's very interesting. So is the Pine Lawn area, as well. So not a whole lot of activity in this Pine Lawn area here at all, which kind of a real dead zone there, which kind of surprises me a little bit, because people do visit Pine Lawn, but I guess not enough people to show up on this map, which is interesting. And we can look at some other. We have Connecticut River State Park, and you can see, yep, that area. It seems like it kind of shows you where all the trails are, the most popular trails that people like to use. Like this is the Greenbelt Trail through Connecticut. That's the most popular trail that people like to take. So it's very interesting to look at all this stuff, and it kind of shows you again with the areas that are kind of off the beaten path that I go to, which again we have a number of them. Let's look at Rocky Point Preserve. Here's another one here that we have. So again, you can see the more popular trails. The Sandhills area isn't terribly popular though. And then we have Robert Cushman Murphy, not very popular at all, actually. That explains why I rarely see anyone there. The Epcal Woods. All right, they're starting to see some brightness here along the bike trail that they put in. But as far as the areas that are off the bike trail, no, not really. Cowlton Ponds also, not a whole lot of activity over there either. We can go over to the Pine Barrens here, Peconic Bog, and Wildwood, and Sarnoff. You can see there's some activity here, but the trails aren't as popular there. It seems like Sears Bellows definitely has a lot more activity. So it's very interesting. Just kind of shows you where people are going hiking, and it also shows you the areas to avoid. And again, you can see this whole area here. Another area that is an avoid area right here. Pretty much Brentwood, Baywood, North Bay Shore. This whole area here, Central Islip, it's all a dead zone here. So again, people don't want to go there. It's not safe. People are avoiding it. So it's kind of, like I said, it's very, very interesting to look at all this stuff. And I figured I would definitely share this with you. And I urge you to go to the site and, it's good to research trails and to, research areas. And you want an area where there's bright colors. You don't want to go somewhere. It's one thing if it's the wooded area, right? But if it's a developed area and, there's buildings and houses and stuff, if you see a lot of darkness, that's an area you really don't want to live in, and you don't want to go to. And that's because, again, it's not safe. People aren't around. People don't want to go there. So it kind of shows you, again, where everything is. And, again, you can sort of see the difference here between Elmont and Floral Park. Here's Elmont, which is dark, and then Floral Park has a lot more activity in it. So it kind of shows you where the people are, where the life is, where it's safe. And the dark areas are kind of, again, here's Garden City and then Hempstead right next to each other. You can see Garden City has got brightness, but look at Hempstead. It's very, very dark. So, again, where there's light, that's where it's going to be safe. Where it's dark, it's not. And unfortunately, this often lines up with, this is segregation. This is a good way to show you how segregated Long Island is. And there are a lot of areas on Long Island that are just absolute dumps. They are expanding. And that's the thing. So that kind of shows you what these maps look like. So I'll put the link below. And thank you for watching.